Viewer contributions make local programming possible on WNIN. Become a member of WNIN with your contribution so we can continue to make this programming available. Visit WNIN.org and click on the donate button.
Having shelter is one of our most basic needs. With having a roof over our heads is something that many take for granted, yet essential if you're looking for stability in your life. This week, we'll speak with local experts about how they are working to help those in our community without housing. That's coming up next on WNIN Newsmakers. Welcome to WNIN Newsmakers. I'm Noah Alatza, the Chief Communications Officer for the University of Evansville. To talk about homelessness in our area, we have Savannah Whicker, Chief Executive Officer of Echo Housing. Savannah, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So what is Echo Housing and what services does it provide for viewers at home who might not know?
So our mission at Echo Housing and Community Development is to improve lives by reducing barriers to housing, social well-being, and economic opportunity. And so essentially we have kind of two pillars of the organization. One is housing. So we have 8 homeless service programs providing social services and housing to various target populations, whether it's families with minor children, veterans, chronically homeless, medically vulnerable. And then we have community development, which is where we work across sectors and with countless partners to address some of the most pressing issues in the community, including mental health, food access, healthcare, education, job training, and other opportunities.
So really a collaborative effort. How would you describe the current housing situation right now in the tri-state?
So that's a pretty broad question, but when it comes to homelessness specifically, last year, 2024 point in time count, we had over 530 individuals on that single night identified as experiencing homelessness. But I think, a common misconception in the community is, to be homeless, you're on the streets. But HUD's definition, there's actually 4 categories of homelessness. And so the first one is streets, shelter, or other place not meant for human habitation, such as living in a car or an abandoned home. Then you have category 2, which is maybe couch surfing, staying with family and friends, imminent risk of becoming category 1. And then it goes up to category 3, which is going to be your unaccompanied youth, and category 4, which is victims fleeing domestic violence situations. And so homelessness itself is so broad and kind of helping to navigate the different categories, the different levels based on an individual basis and experience.
You mentioned those 4 categories, and I'm curious, have you identified or been able to identify, particularly in Evansville and the tri-state, what some of maybe the root causes of homelessness are in the community?
So that's also very broad, and it's based on obviously individual,
Sure.
And so it's hard to kind of define, this group of individuals struggle with, mental health, and this group is substance use, or veterans and PTSD, or families in generational poverty, and a lot of times the individuals that we serve have multiple barriers. Maybe it's generational poverty, PTSD, trauma, substance use, and mental illness, and it's just compounding layers of barriers that are leading to homelessness. So it's really tough to try to kind of categorize.
So I know you're also involved in the Evansville Commission on Homelessness. What are some of the goals of that organization from a broad perspective?
Absolutely. So the Evansville-Vanderburgh Commission on Homelessness is a collaboration amongst community stakeholders tied to ending homelessness. And so the overall goal is to kind of define the Evansville-Vanderburgh strategy for ending homelessness and what steps can we take to measure the effectiveness of systems, improve the systems, and our response as an entire community.
And I know there are a lot of these different community organizations you mentioned too, that it is really one big collaborative effort. Is there a comprehensive plan to help with housing, though, particularly from this group, the Commission on Homelessness?
Yes, so the City of Evansville has a 10-year plan to end homelessness. Actually, just this last commission meeting, we voted to approve a 5-year strategic plan, Destination Home 2030, with very specific metrics of, attempting to reduce chronic homelessness by a certain percentage, veteran homelessness, youth homelessness, and that's kind of the higher level strategy, but it's based on on 5 pillars. So it's your prevention, individuals in unsheltered situations, sheltered situations, mental health, and just housing in general, affordable housing and housing access.
What are maybe some common misconceptions that people, and I think you touched on this a little earlier, if you could go a little deeper, what are some common misconceptions that people might have about people experiencing homelessness?
So a common misconception from my direct experience is they could just go out and get a job. They can go out and get a job and they can earn income, and they can pay for their own housing, and they can pave their own way. But I try to tell individuals we're all one significant life event away from experiencing homelessness ourselves, and that could be the loss of a support or a family member, that could be the loss of a spouse, maybe you're a stay-at-home mother. Any significant life event away can cause somebody to experience any category of homelessness. And so a lot of times those that we serve just need just a little bit of support, just a little bit of help navigating different systems, and then they're on their way and they're self-sufficient and independent.
How can people keep up with Echo Housing, the Commission on Homelessness, maybe any events that are coming up in the future?
Absolutely. So with Echo Housing, we do have the Collective Action Network Summit on April 16th at USI. And essentially what this is a one-day event that brings together neighbors, stakeholders, organizations, and partners to tackle some pressing issues in the community. And then for the Commission on Homelessness, we have our 17th annual Homeless Connect on April 3rd from 9 to 2 at Old National Events. And this is not just for individuals experiencing homelessness, it's anybody that needs access to resources in the community.
That's a great reminder. Savannah Whicker, the CEO of Echo Housing, thanks so much for all the work that you do, and thank you for making time today.
Thank you.
Last week, we visited the ribbon cutting of a new shelter here in Evansville for women and children from the Evansville Rescue Mission. The new facility will fill an important need in the tri-state.
The Evansville Rescue Mission has prayed for this day for a long, long time. So today we are dedicating the Susan H. Snyder Center for Women and Children. And this is a dream that has taken a while to become reality, but here we are. And we could not be more excited to welcome our community into the facility and let them see what this generous community and certainly what a generous God has done for Evansville and for our region.
I think this center is so critically important because of the continued and growing need for shelter in our community. We know that on any given night there could be over 500 or so families living on the street for various reasons, but 200 plus of those are women and children.
And our community per capita in the state of Indiana is one of the highest per capita ratios of homelessness to the population. And so we believe with all of our heart that we can make a difference, even more so than we have with our Men's Residence Center.
And so this center really helps fill the gap as we continue as a community to support those that are really vulnerable, some that might be dealing with domestic violence or mental health or addiction issues. This center is going to give them a place of hope and peace and stability and get them on track to continue to be more successful and to carry out their story.
We're going to provide a lot of wraparound services that will meet the woman and her child right where they are, or the single woman right where they're at. Help them with what they need the most. And if it's childcare, we have a childcare center. Maybe the barrier that has kept her from being able to get her life out of the spiral of homelessness is that she needed to go to Ivy Tech to become a nurse, but she couldn't because she had a child to care for, which that's her top priority. Well, now she'll be able to get her degree. We'll take care of her child while she goes and does that. And so we're very excited about being able to offer that. That's something that was a must-have in this facility from day one. So, some of the spaces inside the building are pretty awesome, and maybe things that people have never even dreamed would be in a homeless shelter. We have a hair salon. We have a fitness center that was completely provided by Be Fit with wonderful equipment. We have 3 laundries that each one of those laundries have 4 washers and 4 dryers. So there are just things inside the facility that are going to make a huge difference. And so now what is left is just to finish some of the construction inside the building, the kitchen for one thing, and then just some of the other spaces that we have to finish up. And then in a few weeks we'll be able to start welcoming guests a little at a time.
To further discuss the new Snyder Center, now we're joined by Kyle Gorman, the Executive Director of Advancement for the Evansville Rescue Mission. Kyle, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
So where is this new center located at?
Yeah, the new building is at 1400 Professional Boulevard, right there between Washington and Covert Avenue.
Was that a strategic location for you all?
It was a little bit. We wanted to have a facility for these women and children, obviously, that provided the resources we were looking for, so we needed a larger building. We wanted it to be on a bus route, so it was easy for people to get in and out of. But also, we wanted to get it out of the downtown area a little bit. We wanted to still be near other resources and partners of ours, but we wanted to take them out of that environment a little bit and allow them to separate themselves into a new space.
So how soon is that center going to start welcoming guests in there?
The end of this month, March.
Wow. And how long, I'm curious, will they be able to stay if someone is in need?
Yeah, so the Evansville Rescue Mission for both our men and then going to soon be our women, none of our programs have specific times on them. And so we believe that as long as you're working towards your program and bettering and transforming your life, we want to be there with you and allow this to be the last stop you have to make on your journey into success.
Talk to me about the support that's going to be provided at that new center, whether that be services or other support systems. What's going to be provided?
For sure. So the whole programming model that when you enter our facility is going to be identifying the barriers that brought you to us. So what are those things individually that brought you to us? How do we help you overcome them and live successfully outside of our building? And so we'll have everything from case management to we have a fitness center for people who are wanting to better their physical life. And then we have a hair salon for women who are going to want to be able to get their hair done and what an impact that can make in just a small effort there. And then we also have a children's center so that if we have a mom with her kiddos come in, we have childcare that we can provide for her while she's going through programming.
It's a lot of those little things that we know matter at the end of the day. Kyle, I'm curious too, right? This is a collaborative effort. What kind of community organizations or partnerships have you guys developed, particularly with this new center or just, with the Evansville Rescue Mission in general?
Yeah, so many. So we try to be good stewards of our resources, obviously. But in that, we don't want to duplicate services. So we want to partner with every other homeless service provider in Evansville to make sure that we aren't just duplicating a service that they may be able to provide for us. Some of our larger ones are we're going to be partnering with Ascension and Ronald McDonald House for the different buses that they operate, such as the dental bus or the mammogram bus, or the Ronald McDonald does one that provides holistic care for kids. And so they'll be able to provide all of those buses at our location and then have those medical services, which is such a need for the people we serve.
Sure. Why was this center, at the end of the day, so important for the Evansville Rescue Mission?
Probably just the huge need. Obviously the Evansville Rescue Mission, we're 108 years old. And so we have seen a lot over the course of time. And so we noticed as we do public feeding at our men's shelter, 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. In that you begin to notice trends of seeing more women and more children and more families who are coming to us for their meals because they have to decide whether to use what little money they have, if any, to pay their bills or to feed their children or to buy something else. And so in that, we just noticed and we felt that calling from God that this was an area that we needed to be serving in that we hadn't served yet. And so it all started from there.
How will this center, and I think I mentioned this to you a little bit earlier, but how is this center going to continue to work with, if you could dig a little bit deeper, with these local organizations, in the community? I know you said you didn't want to duplicate services. So I'm assuming you guys are in constant contact with different entities and organizations. And once this gets off the ground here, you said by the end of the month, how are you going to continue to keep those open lines of communication with those organizations and when they partner with you?
Yeah, I think to start with, a lot of it is going to be referrals. So women and children just don't have a lot of bed space in Evansville as it is. And so we get to open a new center that's going to have bed space. And so working with places like House of Bread and Peace and Albion and other places like that have women and children's spaces, they get to then begin referring because they are already on waiting list themselves. And so Then as we begin to be open and more into serving women and children, we get to make referrals back and forth. So if we have a woman who comes to us that may be a better fit at one of the other shelters for one of their specific services, Albion does a lot with domestic violence. And so if we have somebody who really needs special care there, we can have that open line of communication of saying, we can help you, but we believe somebody else's resources might be able to help you just a little bit better.
Sure. How can people stay up to date with everything that's going on at the Evansville Rescue Mission with the new center?
Yeah, best way is going to be our Facebook page, Evansville Rescue Mission. It's going to allow you to see constant updates from us on what's happening, not just within the new center, but all of the different areas that the Evansville Rescue Mission is involved in. Over 108 years, you grow quite large, and so keeping track of everything is a lot of fun, and you get to see all the different things. You can also find out more about everything we do at evansvillerescuemission.org.
Great. Well, Kyle Gorman, the Executive Director of Advancement for the Evansville Rescue Mission, thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having us in.
Next, to focus on the issue of youth who are without housing, we're joined by Jessica Angelique, CEO and founder from Foster Care in the U.S. Jessica, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me, Noah.
So first, how does Foster Care in the U.S. focus on helping young people with housing in particular?
So one of the things that we're able to do and we're blessed to do is we take Category 1, which are youth who are on the street, Category 1 homeless youth off the street into our transitional supportive housing. And we provide them with direct services and case management to get them to the point where they can be self-sustainable.
Walk me through, Jessica, I know that we were talking a little bit off camera about the IATT house and, you know, the official dedication happened, you know, in May of 2024, but I know it has been in operation at least for at least a couple of years. What is the IATT house for viewers at home who might not be familiar with what that is?
So IATT stands for I Am Tomorrow Today, and it's the IAT project. And so our overall program is ending youth homelessness. That's our mission. Our mission is to end youth homelessness here in Vanderbilt County. And so the IAT project is the workhorse for our ending youth homelessness program. And so the project actually provides the services and the resources which gets us to our goals and objectives of our ending youth homelessness program.
So in that house, what's in the house? The physical embodiment of it, at least.
Oh my goodness! So we have space we have 7 beds, and it's for males and females. So the housing's for males and females alike. And so we provide direct services and everything from financial wealth, financial literacy, which is a 12-week program. That's actually taught by our partner and board member, Paige Alexander, who works for Fifth Third. We just this year, started last year, incorporating financial wealth management into that. And so each young person actually gets to develop their own investment portfolio that they can take with them.
So important that you make that point that it's more than just housing.
Yes.
It goes much deeper than that. And let's get deeper into the challenges that are facing the area, particularly as we've been talking with youth homelessness and here in the tri-state, even more so maybe in Evansville. A question for you, Jessica, is how many of these youth are dealing with these challenges when it comes to homelessness in your work that you're seeing?
So I'm working on 2024 numbers. I don't have all of those numbers yet. I've just started to collect that data. But I can tell you that 2023 numbers, we saw over 970 youth who were homeless at one point or another in Vanderbilt County. So these are numbers that come directly from the Evansville-Vanderbilt School Corporation, the EVSC. These are numbers of young men and young women who have come through the local shelters during that 12-month period. So we're talking about House of Bread and Peace, Evansville Rescue Mission, YWCA, and then our organization as well. So there are a lot. There are more than what people might know or might believe or have heard.
Has that trend been increasing? You've been doing this work for a long time. Has that work been, or not work, but has the number of those youth been increasing, or what does the trend look like over the past?
It's increasing. So if you look at the numbers that are contained in data that's put out by the commission or the point in time count, you're going to see numbers like 12, you might see 21, 13. Those are, I call those feel-good numbers. And the reason why I call those feel-good numbers is because when people look at those, they immediately, oh my gosh, well, there's only 13 here? Really? Jessica's just going on and on about there are homeless youth, but according to this, there's only 13 here in Vanderburgh County. So we don't really need to spend this much time or this much effort. And those are, the thing is that you have to understand that those are counts that are done on a specific day only, at a specific time. So on Tuesday at 10 a.m., these are how many youth that we counted in the shelters. And then that's it on that day. And so those are what those numbers are representative of, on the count on that day only.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Yes.
Why do you think we're seeing a rise then in these numbers of youth that are experiencing homelessness? What could be attributed to that?
Well, the direct attribute is that we don't have housing and services here. So we have no coordinated community plan to end youth homelessness. We have never had one here in Vanderburgh County. That's important. A coordinated community plan, just like the one that we're developing to address homelessness here in Vanderburgh County, it's important to have that plan. We have to know where we're starting, we have to know where we're going, and we have to know what services and resources we need in order to address the problem and the issue for that plan. Well, we don't have one here in Vanderburgh County, and we've never had one. And that's one of the biggest issues. If you don't have a plan and there's no discussion and there's no recognition of the fact that there's even an issue or a problem, all it does is continue to grow, and that's what's happening. Those numbers are growing because we don't have housing here, we don't have services, we don't have funding set aside to address the issue. There's my organization that provides transitional supportive housing, and so now we're working on building additional housing to continue to address those numbers that continue to rise. But we're just one organization. We need help and support. Yes.
How do you get that support and help? Is it a collaborative effort amongst multiple organizations? What would be the silver bullet?
We're so blessed to be able to partner with amazing organizations like Echo Housing Corporation, which is ran by Savannah Whicker. And we partner with organizations like House of Bread and Peace. Our referrals come from the Continuum of Care, which is Aurora. But our funding is really specifically donors and sponsors. We receive no federal funding, we receive no state funding to run our operations, to build housing, or to provide the services that we do on a daily basis.
And I know we're running out of time. Can you just share, Jessica, how can people learn more about your organization?
Website, fostercareintheus.org. Feel free to come and knock on the door. We're located at 23 East Columbia Street here in Evansville, Indiana. Knock on the door. Come talk to some of our young people. I am very happy to say that even being a small organization, we have been able to end homelessness for young people here in Vanderburgh County, and we're going to continue to do that.
Jessica Angelique, the founder and chief executive officer of Foster Care in the U.S. Thanks for all of the work that you're doing in the community,
Thank you, Noah.
Thank you for making time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks to all of our guests for joining us to talk about homelessness in our area. Next week, we'll be focusing on the job forecast in the tri-state. Thanks for watching WNIN Newsmakers.